Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Ulivari?
Yes.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Commissioner Romero, a second by Commissioner Casey. Thank you, Chairman Hall. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is adjournment of the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Commissioner Ulivari?
Yes.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Commissioner Casey, a second by Commissioner Romero. I'm sorry, Ulivari. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Meeting's adjourned. We'll be back in,
I think we should start right now.
Let's go right away.
is everybody okay? Let's get them to sit down. Ready, ladies? Here we go. Let's call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Vincent Howell,
Here.
Councilor David G. Romero. Here. Councilor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Councilor David A. Univadi Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Romero, can you give us a moment of silence, please?
A moment of silence for those that have passed in our community over the past month, for those that have lost family, and also that will guide us through our decisions that we make here tonight and do what's in the best interest of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And if I may make a note to mayor and council on business items, item number 2, approval of 2019 audit. There was, it's not on the agenda request, but there is a resolution 20-06, that was included in your packet for adoption by mayor and council.
Thank you.
Other than that, I have no further changes unless
It's the pleasure of the board.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Councilor Ulivari Jr.
Yes.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Ulivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for February the 5th, 2020 special meeting.
It's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the February 5th minutes with minor corrections.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Ulivari Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is mayor's appointments and reports. Mr. Mayor, we have your approval to appoint Mr. Michael Montoya, and I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to appoint Mr. Michael Montoya to the Ward 2 seat here as a councilor. And I've known Mr. Montoya for a long time, ever since I've been on Ward 2 as a councilor. He lives in my ward also. And he's been a very active member in our community, and he has passion towards our community. So I really would like, it's my pleasure to have Mr. Montoya come on up here.
Mr. Point of order.
Oh, got it.
We have to vote
Approve it, okay.
first. Yes.
Got so excited.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, motion to approve.
with that, I make a motion to approve your appointment of Mr. Michael Montoya, Councilor, Ward 2.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Now.
It is my pleasure to have Mr. Michael Montoya come on up. And Mr. Montoya, do you have your wife here with you? Oh, wonderful.
Daughters count too, Mr.
Oh, okay, I didn't know you were there. How are you doing? Good, nice to see you. Go ahead. Yes.
Raise your right hand, please. I, Michael L. Montoya,
I, Michael L. Montoya,
having been elected to the office of Counselor Ward 2
having been elected to the Council of Ward 2
of the City of Las Vegas,
in the City of Las Vegas,
of San Miguel County,
of San Miguel County,
in the state of New Mexico,
in the state of New Mexico,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Mexico,
and charter of the City of Las Vegas,
and the charter of the City of Las Vegas,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Cassandra, I have a question on that. It should say appointed, not elected, so you should correct that.
Councilman Montoya, please have a seat. Yes, please.
Is this it?
No, this is mine. Do you have his packet?
I have my packet sitting here.
It's right there.
This is it.
Oh, this is it? Well, let me get mine out of I'm sorry.
Welcome, Counselor Montoya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for having me.
Please do.
First of all, I want to thank Mayor Hall for nominating me to this seat. As Councilwoman Casey indicated, this is an assignment to this seat till the election, and during that time, unopposed, I'll be sworn in with the rest of the mayor and council. I want to thank our governing body, our council, for working hard, for bringing the city of Las Vegas to where we're at. I want to thank them for supporting Las Vegas and its citizens at the legislature this last week. I want to thank our city attorney, our police chief, and our staff. And especially I want to thank the employees of the city of Las Vegas for standing ground and keeping their jobs and doing the work that needed to be done during all this tribulation. I want to thank the citizens of Las Vegas for holding on and having faith in this governing body. With that, Mr. Mayor, thank you, and I'm glad to be on board, and I pray to God that I can do a good job for all citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
My wife. Let's thank my wife.
Thank you for your support. That's good. We're glad to have you on board, so thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Next item on the agenda is public input. The first person is Mr. Marshall Poole on animal welfare. Good evening, Mr. Poole.
Hello, Mr.
How are you?
So, Mr. Mayor, councilors, first I'd like to mention that we're having a pet health fair again. We had one last fall, and we're having another one March 21st. That's a Saturday, and our volunteer veterinarians will be Dr. Bill Brainerd from Sapeo, and also Dr. Ralph Zimmerman, the state veterinarian, has volunteered to come up and be with us on that day. The cost is $5 a pet, and this last fall we did 83 families with 156 pets, 127 microchips, 232 vaccinations, and you'll hear more next month. That's all for $5 a pet, so it's quite a deal. But today I'd really like to address another issue, and that's a situation that perhaps has more public awareness, but has really been with us for years, and that is that the city effectively has not had any animal control for months now. And many citizens do not understand, by the way, the difference between animal control, which is responsible for enforcing the city ordinances about animals, and also the Animal Welfare Coalition, which is responsible for sheltering animals under contract with the city, and also helping with spaying and neutering and other animal welfare issues. Public Works has been filling in and helping out when they can, but they're not trained to do animal control and have their own jobs to do. So it's been very difficult for them to really do that job. There are many dogs here in Las Vegas that are either running at large or are chained in their yards, and animal control has often not been given the training and the resources and the support they need. And frankly, animal control has often not been taken seriously. In the past, it's specifically been asked not to issue citations and specifically directed against enforcing the ordinance against tethering. If a citation has been issued, it's often dismissed by the court across the board. So there's no reason for anyone in the community really to change the way they treat their pets if there is no incentive and no consequences. And this is not just about animal welfare or about a few isolated dogs. Chained and otherwise tethered dogs are much more likely to be aggressive. And if they get off the tether, they're much more likely to attack other animals or humans, and those attacks are likely to be more aggressive. This directly affects, of course, the human population. Animal abuse is also an indicator of other issues. Research and experience shows that where animals are mistreated, children, spouses, and elderly are often also abused. Animal abuse is also associated with outstanding arrest warrants and also illegal drugs. We would all like to see Las Vegas continue to be a great place to live, as well as a tourist destination, but do we want the city to be a place where there are animals running at large and animals chained in yards?
3 minutes.
3. Animal control has been moved back over to the police department, and we think that's very important for animal control to be under law enforcement, so we're glad for that. But we still have to recruit, hire, and train qualified people to be animal control officers. We understand there are perhaps 100 jobs that are not filled in the city or being stepped, other people stepping in to fill those positions. And the solution that we recommend is to have a professional human resources company come in and help recruit, train, and select those people, working with the departments like the police department for animal control. So our city is eager to have that kind of workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. The next person on the public input is Mr. Lalo Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez?
Good evening, Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the council. First of all, I really don't know what the problem is, that I just can't speak to the chief of police when I happen to call in. I call in to this past week for just a simple question, and I asked the dispatcher if she could answer the question, and she said no. So I asked her if she would transfer me to speak to the chief. She took about, 15, 20 seconds, I guess, to be able to come back, and what came back was a lieutenant. And the lieutenant told me, Mr. Sanchez says, things operate around here with a chain of command, and you can't speak to the chief unless we go through chain of command. So in other words, I have to talk to the janitor before I can talk to the chief and everybody in between, I guess, I don't know. But I think it's a problem. Secondly, we have still the squad cars that haven't been numbered. And I don't know if that would be one of the investigations that the police department is under investigation, because these squad cars aren't numbered, and maybe these are the officers that are breaking the law continuously. And we can't report them because we don't know what cars they're driving. The employees, I think it was 2 months ago or last month, I don't remember exactly, there was the director, I guess it was, from roads, streets department, to where they had more work than what they can handle. They have to do 3 and 4 different jobs when they should only be doing theirs. And the jobs can't be done professionally or correctly because they have so many other jobs on their mind that they can't get this job done right because they have the other job that's either important or it has to be done immediately or something or other. So none of the jobs are done right, and they have to come back and redo them all over again. So I think that's a waste of time and a waste of money as far as that goes. Time limit, I think we should change it from 3 minutes to 5 minutes because we're running out of time. We can't actually say everything that we need to. I'm having problems with the utilities department. Again, apparently it wasn't sufficient that they made me end up paying $1,400 on a falsely accused water leak. So now I think they're trying to do something else. I don't know, but a lot of things need to be corrected in this city, and I hope that this new administration, if it continues the way it is now, I hope that it progresses, and I hope it does better than what we used to have, because I don't know if we can get any worse or not. And I sure hope not anyway, as far as that goes. And I can only say thank you for right now. And since my time is, I'm sure, is probably up, the saga will continue probably next month, and I hope you all don't get tired of seeing me or listening to me, because this has been going on already for 20 years, and it'll probably go on for another 20 if I live that long. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. That concludes public input. Our next item is we're going down to presentations. Our first presentation is by Dr. Eric Romero, faculty member from New Mexico Highlands University, regarding a visitation from Ms. Dolores Huerta. Dr. Romero.
Good evening, Dr. Romero. How are you?
Good evening. Buenas tardes. Me quedo ante ustedes su humilde servidor Eric Romero a sus órdenes. I am your humble servant Eric Romero. Mr. Mayor, respected council members, if I could just have a few minutes of your time. What I have is an informal request that we're asking that if you're, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the legacy of Doña Dolores Huerta. She's a New Mexico daughter, and if I could apprise you of some of the issues of what's happening at Highlands University, Ms. Dolores Huerta is scheduled to be our commencement exercise speaker for this year for a May 9th graduation. We're going through a process right now, and it looks pretty much in effect that Ms. Huerta will be awarded with an honorary doctorate from the from Highlands University in respect of what she's worked with. And if you allow me, I promise to be brief, but I wanted to give just a little bit of biographical information so that everybody's on the same page. Ms. Huerta is a New Mexico native daughter. She was born in Dawson, New Mexico on April 10th, 1930. Spent most of her childhood in Las Vegas and spent some of her childhood in Las Vegas. This year she will be celebrating 90 years of vibrancy and enthusiasm. Dolores has contributed more than 60 years of different forms of humanitarian advocacy, community activism, and political reform. Ms. Huerta is duly recognized as the co-founder, along with Cesar Chavez, of the United Farm Workers in 1962. This organization was established to represent agricultural workers during the turbulent time when workers had no dignity nor representation in the fields. Ms. Huerta exercises extraordinary ability at negotiation, lobbying, and alliance building in securing contracts and creating equitable policies for farm workers. She's become one of the most important spokespersons for farm workers and the labor movement in general. Ms. Huerta has been involved in many political campaigns that include Robert F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, and Governor Jerry Brown. Dolores Huerta also contributes to gender equity organizations and advocates for equity in many forums. She worked rigorously to solidify family principles in many of the levels of her endeavors. At the national level, she's advocated for voter rights, and women's empowerment and promoted candidates of color. The Dolores Huerta Foundation was established in 2002 with a mission to organize at a grassroots level, engage and develop natural leaders. The foundation creates leadership opportunities for community organizing, leadership development, civic engagement, and policy advocacy. So I'm here tonight representing two Highlands entities. One, I am the chair of the Department of Language and Culture, and I'm also the vice chair of the President's Council on Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Issues. And from both of those entities, we put forward this nomination at the university that Mrs. Huerta be considered for that honorary doctorate and to be recognized as commencement speakers. And since those are pretty well in place, we wanted to visit with the City Council and ask if you, in your consideration and your respect of this gracious and important woman, if there's something that the city could do in some sort of recognition. And I don't have a formal request along what that could mean. So I ask again and leave it up to your creativity in the manner of your support if you wish to recognize her. She's going to be here, she's scheduled to be here during that week, the second week of May. And if there's something that the city could do, if you are in agreement of in recognition of the importance that she does not only for our community and for the state and for our society and country in general. So I wanted to kind of open that dialogue to see if there is some possibility that the city could have some kind of recognition, whether it be key to the city, perhaps at the high end, the naming of a street, some kind of, whether there be a monument. Again, I'm not formalizing that as a request in particular, but in a general sense, so I ask if the city would be considerate and appreciative of what she's done for us.
Great. Thank you. Any questions?
Just a comment.
Yes.
Dr. Romero, thank you for bringing this up. I can't think of any person, any woman in New Mexico that deserves more recognition and honor than Dolores Huerta. And I think that it would be a wonderful tribute to her if the city would do something to give her the recognition and the honor that she so rightly deserves. So I think that we should do something.
Please do. And if you caught on that, when I was making of course, a biographical treatise could go on for quite some time. I was just trying to synthesize information. She's turning 90 years this year, and she's still vibrant and active, and she's a tremendous person. And again, the value of recognizing her, of what it could have for the value of our community members, to recognize that she's one of us. She's a native daughter. And again, please, to the degree that you could make something respectful and viable that could recognize her.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Romero. This is a very important item on this agenda. I would recommend, Mr. Mayor, that we do a resolution and invite Ms. Dolores Huerta to our council meeting during that May meeting. And maybe we can present her with a resolution and also with the key of the city, She has moved people, the Hispanics especially, out of poverty. She went and she stood by them when they were being mistreated in the cotton fields. She has presented all over the United States. She has been here for the 4th of July of Las Vegas for the fiestas. So if I'm in order, Mr. Mayor, I would recommend that we present you with the key of the city and also a resolution in our May meeting. I don't know what date that is, but it fits in conjunction with the dates that she's here. If not, at a private meeting with mayor and council and stuff, with her at Highlands before that date.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Madam Attorney, do we have any problems with that?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. There is a problem. This isn't an action item, just discussion.
I see.
It's a violation.
Just direction. Am I
Direction,
correct?
just direction. Yeah, we'll give it as a direction. Is that consensus with the board? Can we do that?
I don't even think that we can vote on it because it's not on
Right.
the agenda,
Okay.
but it
So
can be
it's- so
taken.
we'll give you the direction.
The directive to
Yes.
the city manager.
There we go.
We certainly
We
will.
want to make that happen, so we'll give you that direction. Thank you, Councilman Montoya. Anything else, any other questions for Dr. Romero?
No, I think.
Councilor Iliberti? Okay. Dr. Romero, thank you so much for
My
coming
appreciation.
to us.
And to the degree if I could help out in the editing or the redaction of that resolution, I could be available.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay.
Could you also give us a specific date that, I know you said the May 9th is going to be recognized at Highlands.
We haven't been able to clarify the specific dates of her participation. Again, many of you know she has family here, and when she does come and make a visitation, she usually extends. If I can mention one more item, during her 80th birthday 10 years ago, Highlands University, we had done a linked birthday celebration with her, and it was in San Francisco, Chicago, New York. Again, she's quite recognized throughout the United States and the world for that matter. And we were the only community that got to sing her mañanitas and happy birthday, because this is one of her favorite communities. So she does really love and appreciate Las Vegas and likes to be here. So as soon as I find out the dates as far as when her presence will be here, I'll let the council know, and we could work forward with that.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yes.
your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Romero.
Next, Madam Manager.
The next presentation is the commemorative bench to honor Skip Smith. And do we have Ms. Price? Oh, yes, we do. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I am the worst public speaker, so excuse me. I would like to submit to you all the following proposal for a commemorative bench to honor the life of William Skip Smith. Skip was a community icon and local figure who made Las Vegas his home. He inspired and motivated kindness, compassion, and empathy in our community. We would like to erect this commemorative bench to honor Skip and the others like him in our community that we have embraced and cared for over the years, lest the most vulnerable citizens of ours be forgotten. The bench has already been assembled by certified local welder Manny Lujan from Get Bent Fabrication. The design consists of a dark patina over steel with reinforced welds for strength and safety. The style, color, and design of the bench was chosen to complement the existing benches in the historic Plaza Park. The director of Main Street has given his full support of the design and proposal in respect to erecting the bench in a historic location. And we ask for your permission to erect the bench in the heart of our community where it could be visited by all, so Skip may have a place to sit with his coffee and be remembered by his community for as long as it stands, if not longer. The proposed location is on a pre-existing concrete pad where a previous bench formerly sat, overlooking the gazebo. The bench will be mounted with a plaque with the following inscription, pending approval, in memory of William Skip Smith, from your friends and fellow citizens, with his date of birth, February 2nd, 1947 to 8/16/2019, and the hashtag Justice for Skip. And I'm not sure if Sarah emailed you guys photos.
Yes.
We all got a copy.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys consider it. The community is eager to get this moving forward.
Do you have any questions, Council? Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I
I think
appreciate
this
it.
is an honor for Skip. so
I think so too. I think it'd be really lovely. It's really nice design. Maggie
Great.
did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you will give me direction, we will move it on to the Design Review Board and have them review and approve the design, and then we will move on for further installation.
So done.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I do have one question. I was told that there was a holdup in design review board for this, or is it because they haven't had meetings, or what's been?
No, it goes to mayor and council first for discussion and direction, and then it goes to Design Review Board.
So we just gave her the direction.
Yes, so it'll go over to Design Review Board at the next scheduled meeting.
And then it'll come back to us?
No, it won't, unless there's an issue, then they'll bring it back to mayor and council. I don't believe that there will be an issue, then we'll move on with the installation.
Okay, and what time frame are you thinking?
The next meeting for the Design Review Board would be in March, and then we will proceed with the installation of the bench.
So you think it would be done prior to the fiestas?
Yes, sir, I do believe so.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
May I ask something? I was actually thinking if it is done close to the fiestas, maybe we could have a little ceremony right before they begin or something like that. I just thought it would be a nice way to open the fiestas
That's a good thought.
for your consideration.
Thank you.
So
Councilman Montoya?
we'll try to meet that deadline.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I know I wasn't here for the beginning of the agenda. So, in a moment of silence, I would also like to recognize our chief, Mr. Albert Mares. Has served for the city of Las Vegas. He passed on, and our condolences to the family, the Mares family. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That's a wonderful thought. Thank you for us reminding us. Appreciate that.
The next presentation is by Ms. Maria Gilbert, Utilities Director, on the award received by the City of Las Vegas Water Treatment Plant from the New Mexico Water and Wastewater Association for the most improved facility in 2019. Ms. Gilbert.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, councilors, Madam Manager, I wanted to inform the council that our water treatment plant staff and our consultants that oversee our staff have done a tremendous job in the last year. And one of the small recognitions of that is this recognition by the New Mexico Water and Wastewater Association that the City of Las Vegas water treatment plant was voted the most improved facility for 2019. This is representative of all the hard work that the staff and the consultants at the water treatment plant have performed in the last year and continue to perform. We still have some additional work. If possible, I'd like Jesus Hathaway to come up and accept this on behalf of the water treatment plant staff.
Great.
Jesus and his date for this evening, Miss Hathaway. So Jesus has been a tremendous asset to the City of Las Vegas at the wastewater plant and also at the water treatment plant. And his hard work and everybody else's hard work there is what keeps our plant thriving. And thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Chewy, for everything you guys do. Thank you. If possible, I'd like to get a picture with the mayor, the council, and Mr. Hathaway and his date for the day.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
What you're doing.
How are you?
Careful.
She's going to take a picture. Be careful, watch the head.
All righty.
Okay.
Should we go to the front?
Yeah.
Mr. Hathaway, can you get a little bit shorter for me? Just a little bit.
They're too cute.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ms. Gilberry. I
Thank you.
appreciate all your hard work at the Utilities Department. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
The next presentation is by Mr. Robert Archuleta, Grant Writer Administrator and Architectural Research Consultants, providing an update on the progress of the Comprehensive Master Plan. Mr. Archuleta.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Good evening, Mayor Howell and members of the governing body. Thank you for allowing us to speak today and giving you an update on the comprehensive master plan that we're working on for the city of Las Vegas. I have with me Liza Miller, who's the planner for Architectural Research Consultants, who is our consultant for the plan. So before I begin, I'd just like to give a quick history of where we're at. As you know, we applied for a grant through NMFA and were subsequently awarded $50,000 for a comprehensive master plan with a LEADER component. We entered into a contract with Architectural Research Consultants, I think around the end of August, and we started working probably around September on the plan. We hope we have a deadline of the end of July to get this plan in. However, we've been making really good progress, and I'm pretty confident that we can have a document for the governing body to adopt around May. So I think this is great timing for new administration when they come in. Before I go any further, congratulations to Mr. Montoya on your appointment. I have with me today, if I can have them stand, members of the steering committee. They're in the audience. If you can please stand. They have been working really hard and diligent with us, with Liza and I, on really developing a plan that is pretty solid for the city of Las Vegas. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. And also the city staff, if all the city staff could stand. Liza has met with some of them on the plan, Daniel, Maria. She still hasn't gotten to some of them because obviously there's a lot of different departments, but I'd like to also thank the city staff for their efforts in participating in the internal city steering committee and giving us their input on their different departments. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. As you are aware, this is a guidance document for the city to be adopted in the near future. It's a really important plan for the future of the city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liza, who's going to give you an update and presentation of where we're at thus far. Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Archuleta, can you have the committee introduce themselves to see who they are?
Yes, absolutely. The committee can stand. The steering committee, introduce yourselves. Michael, you can...
Michael Ferrandez, I'm Executive Director of Main Street de Las Vegas.
I'm Reina Fernandez, and I'm a realtor, and I'm also on the Main Street Board.
Tim Hagman with the New Mexico Economic Development Department, Warren County houses me in Warren.
I'm Elizabeth Juarez, and among other things, I work with the Huntington Street Water Center.
Francisco Polanco, representing Luna Community College.
I'm Emil Baca, I'm owner of the Indigo Theater.
Sure.
And I just been asked to be on the steering committee, thank you. Patrick Galloway, and I'm with the Main Street Board also.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Mayor, City Council, thank you for having me today. I'd like to talk a little bit about what a comprehensive plan is and the process through which we're developing it and where we are in that process for you today. A comprehensive plan is an official policy document that's designed to guide development in the community over the next 20 years, so it's a long-range plan. It's a community-driven plan, so it's up to the community. We go out to the community, involve the community in developing the goals and policies. Everything that goes in this plan comes straight from the community. It doesn't come from the planners, it doesn't come from the city, it comes from the community, so it's a community-driven plan to describe how the community wants to see their community develop in the coming years. The plan is proactive in that it anticipates challenges and changes and provides a roadmap for navigating future decisions. It's a tool for decision makers to use to guide decision making in terms of physical development in the community over the coming years. The roadmap establishes goals and provides step-by-step guidance for achieving them. This includes short and long-range goals and is a way to provide continuity across administrations with focused goals and priorities. So the idea is that we provide goals and strategies for achieving them that can then be accomplished and implemented across administrations over the next coming decades. I think Rob's gone over most of the plan administration material. In terms of plan input, this plan is informed by the public mainly and most importantly. It's also informed by existing plans, including your current comprehensive plan, which was developed in 2011. This is an update of that plan and will probably be a complete rewrite of that plan, but it will also consider the goals and policies that were developed for that plan and revisit them and align our goals, our current goals, with those that were developed for the previous plan. We also have a steering committee who you just met some of the members of. That was developed with city guidance, and they assist the project in designing the plan process. The steering committee informs the shape and extent of public input, identifies and vets plan priorities, outlines capacities in terms of tools on hand to accomplish goals, and leads plan review. Finally, the steering committee supports and recommends plan adoption by the City Council at the end of the process. Okay. Additional plan references include existing plans. Those are city plans, like the existing comprehensive plan, regional plans, like the county comprehensive plan, natural resources plans, safety plans, infrastructure plans, and partner plans, such as the Highlands Plan, the Highlands University Master Plan. These plans provide context and support the comprehensive plan goals. Most important is public and community input, which includes focus groups, interviews, a public event that will take place probably in the next month or two, and a community survey, which is out right now. I've provided copies of what the questions are on that community survey. We've put the community survey out in the utility bill. It's available online through the city website. We have several hundred responses so far, and we hope to get more. So that will be able to inform the goals and policies in the plan as well. Stakeholder engagement is a crucial aspect of the public engagement and continues throughout the process. Today, in fact, we met with West Las Vegas Student Council. We had a recreation focus group. Friday, I'm going to be speaking with the library, senior center, and transportation departments, and we'll be holding the first of 2 comprehensive economic development focus groups. In terms of how this process goes, it's consisted of 4 major tasks, 4 major phases, really. The first is project initiation, which we've already accomplished. It includes defining the scope of the project, designating the steering committee, and designating the designing the planning process. The second task involves a lot of research and outreach. That's where we are in the project now. So it involves a lot of research on the planner's part, a lot of community outreach with the community, with focus groups, with key stakeholders. This part of the process involves a lot of publicity. We want to get the word out to everyone in the community that we possibly can. We've conducted a radio interview. We published a press release in the Optic in December. The plan has its own Facebook page. Like I said, there's a community survey that's available online. We printed the link in the Optic and ran an op-ed about it. And a lot of our steering committee members have pushed the survey out to their mailing lists. Like I said, it went out in the utility bills. So we're hoping to cover as much of the community as possible with that. Finally, we'll take all this input, synthesize it into useful information, and draft goals and policies that we'll bring back to the community for review and validation and feedback in task 3. The final task is the report and adoption. We'll compose a draft plan integrating our findings and feedback and bring that again back to the community for additional feedback and review. The end product will be a comprehensive plan that reflects this community's goals and values to present to Council for adoption. This is a comprehensive plan. and so covers all elements of community development, from land use to economic development, and special topics tailored for each community. In this case, we're including topics such as administration and capacity building. The plan will include goals for each topic, as well as a detailed implementation plan that provides specific steps and actions, as well as phasing and responsible party and metrics for measuring progress for each goal. The emerging topics so far in the Las Vegas plan include everything ranging from economic development capacity building to maintenance planning, and we're continuing to evolve the list and identify priority projects and goals. Still to come in this process are additional steering committee meetings, the public workshop, and continued interviews and public engagement. Thank you for your time today. The planning team is striving to develop a plan that will serve as a catalyst and guidebook for catalyzing meaningful involvement in this community, improvements in the community, and we look forward to working with the city's public servants to provide the best tool possible to move this community forward. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Questions? Councilor Romero?
So you mentioned about 2011 was when this plan was last adopted. Do you know what the participation was back then? Do we have that, or we wouldn't have that information?
In terms of public input?
Yeah.
There was a community survey and a series of public meetings, I know. It was our firm that developed that plan, though I was not with the firm at that time.
Okay. So we wouldn't probably have that information. Just
It's in the old plan. It's in the, or the current plan, really. It'll outline the public process.
There's, Mayor Howell, Councilor Romero, there is a section in the old plan that kind of outlines some of the public input that was conducted.
the other question is, till when are we, the survey till when is that going to be available to the community? Or
The survey is open till March 1st.
Till March 1st. Okay. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Archuleta. I know you and I met with the superintendent of West Las Vegas, and I think you're going to get some of the students to work on that. Do you know?
Mayor Howell, Councilor Romero, yes. In fact, Christopher Gutierrez was very instrumental in jumping our numbers on the survey. He did ask students, faculty, and parents to participate in the survey. And I think our numbers are around 500?
Around
500 responses. We're hoping by the end of March that we get to about 1,000 and have a good data set. That's our goal. But again, that's dependent upon the community responding to the survey.
The old master plan is on our website, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Yes.
And there's, in the packet that I gave out, there's a synopsis of the major priorities that were outlined in the 2011 plan.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I just want to say thank you for the work that you've already done. I want to thank the community members and the staff that have been working on this so diligently. Time goes by so fast, and it's amazing that we haven't worked on this any sooner. I also want to commend everyone for really making an effort to reach a lot of people in the community. And so a lot of people don't have computers, and some have mentioned to me that they were very happy that they got the survey in their utility bill.
Great.
And they responded. And I did my survey online, and so I think that was a really good effort, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilor Casey.
Councilman Montoya?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the committee for all the hard work they're doing on this. And just to clarify something, this plan is a 5-year plan, and this is how we obtain funding from the state legislature. This has to be approved by DFA and also by the New Mexico Economic Development at the state level.
That's correct.
So this is where it all starts, with the community's input, and then bringing it to mayor and council, and this is the plan, and then from here is how we get our funding from different sources. So I just want to take that up, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
I already filled out mine.
Thank you.
Councilor Yellowbridge?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chuleta and Liz and the committee. So I'm looking at it, it's very promising. It's for the citizens of Las Vegas. You guys are doing a good work. Thank you for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. I also want to thank you. I appreciate all the work that you've done. And I had an opportunity to meet with the committee about 3 weeks ago and gave my input there. So I'm glad to see that this is moving forward. I do have a question though. In your meetings with the face-to-face of our community, what were the top 3 input that they gave you?
I would say that the main topics that are coming up are maintenance of mainly parks and streets, improving maintenance of mostly parks and streets, economic development's a big one, and in that respect also capacity building, and rebuilding the relationship between the public and the community.
The trust factor?
Yeah.
Job creation is another one, Mr. Mayor.
I see.
As well.
And in the economic development issue, what specifically did they say?
Mostly the discussions have been around how we can harness the tools and energy that exist in the community already and focus everyone's efforts towards, in the same direction moving forward so that there are no gaps in what organizations and people are doing and there's no overlap. So kind of organizing the capacity that's on hand and focusing it to really accomplish goals.
Mr. Mayor, these are some of the emerging issues. However, because we don't have our final data set on the survey, it's really difficult to ascertain what are the top 3, but those are some of the ones that are coming up. I just got 2 surveys today in the mail, so they're coming in.
Good.
And I think people are participating. So we'll see what the data says in a month.
Right. We had a meeting with the Secretary of Economic Development, Ms. Lisa Keys, and also the Department of Transportation. And their main focus or emphasis was that we need data. And that's what Councilor Montoya was saying. This is going to give us that data and the survey is going to give it to us and all the input that you are going on face-to-face. So in order for them to fund us, they need data. And if we don't have data, then it doesn't exist, they say. So thank you very much. And also, one more thing. Did film tourism come up?
It's come up, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, film and tourism.
Film and
recreation as well. It's pretty diverse, Mr. Mayor.
Good. I'm really anxious to see that final packet. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
I will say that there's been a tremendous amount of love for the community expressed in the surveys.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
One last question.
Okay.
So after the surveys due March 1st, what's the deadline that we'll actually see the document that has all the information?
We're aiming to have a draft in May.
We're hoping to bring it to the governing body by May. We have till the end of July. So we've been granted an extension from NMFA. So we're sitting pretty good in terms of the timeline to get it done. But I think our internal goal between Liza and I is May.
Ms. Gallegos, I want to thank you for putting the right person to the job. So, Mr. Archuleta, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we hired the right consultant. So, thank you.
Sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Moving on the agenda, the next item is the city manager's report. And briefly, we had our Las Vegas Day on February the 17th, and I think everyone received a calendar somewhere underneath. If you haven't, let us know and we'll get you one. These calendars were given to all the legislators on Monday. I believe that they were all delivered to the Capitol, as well as our wonderful spick and span tortillas, and there was all kinds of food. We had Karen from Hillcrest provide coffee and donuts in the morning. And then we had just a light lunch that was also given to the leadership team, and I think each and every one of you were there. And I just want to thank you and express our gratitude to you, each and every one of you, because I think each and every one of you had a lot to do with our funding and some of our issues, our legislative requests. There's so many different, several different resources of dollars for legislative appropriations, and we're just hoping for the best, aren't we, Mayor?
Yes, absolutely.
There was a lot of visitation by the mayor and by a lot of you that went. I think the mayor spent 2 or 3 days a week with the legislators and meeting the different people, economic development, DOT staff. And so I believe that we will be very, very successful, and partly because of all of you all and all the different staff members and all the different legislators that each and every one of you know and have gone and thanked. And so thank you. We also were able to do a Lodgers Tax Advisory Board yesterday with our new membership. We had 3 new members that were named. They are Mr. Gabriel Garcia, Georgina Ortega Angel, and Shauna Sandoval, along with the 2 members that have been there, Alan Allfelt and then Krutik Bhatta. Krutik is the chairman of the committee, and so he has developed some requirements as far as requesting lodgers tax dollars. All the board agreed that we would move forward with the form and with the activities. There is plans to have another advisory board to address the tour guide, and that meeting, I believe, is scheduled for March the 10th. But things are going well with the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board, and so we're going to move forward with those as well. We have an Easter egg hunt coming up for kiddos on April the 11th, and that'll be at Lincoln Park, and we'll have more information for you later on. Planning and zoning will be meeting next Monday, and that's to actually help Robertson High School vacate that 4th Street between the high school and the maintenance department. And so we'll be there as well supporting the school district. And with that, I will move on to the finance report. And we have we have Dominic Chavez.
That's my brother.
I apologize.
That's fine.
We have Dominic Chavez, who will be presenting our finance report to you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Good evening, Dominic.
I'm here to present revenue and expense comparisons for January 31st, 2020. General fund revenue totaling $7,311,721, with total expenditures of $6,446,387, which is a surplus of $865,334 for the general fund. Under the enterprise funds, we have total bill of $8,779,625, and with the expenditures of $9,304,397, which is actually a deficit of $524,772. And the recreation department, we have total revenues to date of $333,773, with expenditures of $373,585, which is also a deficit of $39,802. We also have in that packet the lodgers tax as of January 31st, 2020. There was one small adjustment from promotions to lodgers tax promos to infrastructure, which was the 1%. And so the actual amount for the lodgers tax promotion and revenue is $237,694, and the infrastructure is $47,227, for a total of $284,922 in revenue, and total expenditures sits at $228,632.
I just want to make a comment. You did a great presentation at the Lodgers Tax meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Yes. You also have a check register?
Yes, I do have a check report, if there was
Oh,
any
you do?
questions on that.
Yes.
We didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
Can you get the check report, please?
I didn't get it.
We'll make sure that you get it by tomorrow and get it over to you, and that way you, if you have any questions, by all means.
Yeah, I really was disappointed that I didn't get it.
I apologize. We will get it to you. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I apologize for that, Counselor.
Hold on, I had a couple of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the line item, going back to the 150 for housing, where would that come out of from here, from this line items?
It would come out of the general fund under expenditures. It would be the very first report under general services. Under expenditures, you see the $1,018,289. That was a combination, and I do believe it was done in either January or February, so I'll have to check to see what date it was done. I believe it was done in February. Am I right? Yes, it was. It was done in February. So it won't be included in this one, but it'll be included in the next one, but it'll be the same line item.
Okay, this way. Okay. And then the other question I had in it, this has been brought up to my attention. I guess there was and it pertains to the library, and I don't see that, I don't know where it was, but I guess there was some money that was raised, $125,000, that was raised for the library, that was brought up by a candidate, and I'm just curious, where did that go?
To my knowledge, there was no funding raised for the library in any amount. The only things that we raised or anything was for the story time we had back in August, but that wasn't any kind of monetary donation or anything. It was beverages and time that's donated.
So there was no monetary that actually went to the library at all?
No, there was no monetary donations or anything like that that was made to the library.
Okay, thank you.
Where did we get this information?
It was brought up at a forum,
Oh,
so I was just curious.
The candidates brought it up.
I was just curious because I hadn't seen that in transfer here, so I was wondering. Thank you.
yes, Councilor.
Question, Madam Manager, that 1/8 infrastructural balance of $243,887.
Yes.
What is that from?
That's the year-to-date actual number that we've received from July 2019, and that's the infrastructure tax dollars, GRT dollars.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, the other question is the finance director, I believe?
Yes.
That's the title? Deputy. Yeah. Since we have a bunch of interns in different departments, where is the cost savings notice on this? Or has there been any cost savings?
Well, yes, there has been, and I don't know if through the interim basis, but through the positions that are vacant, and that sits in the general fund, in general services. Most of these positions, if vacant, the positions are sitting within the departments.
And what's that savings number?
Well,
I don't have that for you.
may I respond?
Yes.
You have this, we've gone through 7 months of the year, which we should have received 58% of our revenues. We've actually received 64% of our revenues, so we're over by $800 and some $1,000 that Mr. Chavez indicated that we had received 800 and some thousand more than what we had anticipated. In your expenditures at the bottom, we've only expended 50% instead of the 58% that we should have expended. So we have an 8% savings there as well. By each department, and it's by department. It's by the municipal court, by the governing body, by the mayor, the city manager, and these are the different departments on the left-hand side, and I'm sure they're very familiar to you. And so each one of them, we've included their budgets, and then we've included their expenditures, their year-to-date expenditures, and then what we have as available balance, and what we've actually expended is 50% of the budget, not the 58 where we should be at.
But it's more likely 8% savings in each department.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Illubury, have any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Appreciate it.
The next item.
Next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item are the consent agenda items. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I
Councilor
move
Casey?
that we approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 5 and that they be read into the record proper by the city clerk.
Okay. Got a motion and a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Counselor Casey?
Are you gonna
Read it? I'll go
the-
ahead and read it into the record first, and then I'll...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The consent agenda items consist of the following. Number 1, approval of Resolution 20-04, transferring the following vehicles to Santa Fe Community College. Item number 2, approval of Resolution number 20-03, assuring the availability of matching funds for the participation in the New Mexico Department of Transportation Municipal Cooperative Agreement in the amount of $75,000, which is 25% of total estimated project cost of $300,000 for this phase of the project. Item 3, approval to purchase 1 front-load commercial collection truck for the solid waste division. Item number 4, approval to purchase 1 side-load residential collection truck for the solid waste division. And item number 5, approval to purchase 1 multi-terrain loader for the water distribution division.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Romero and Councilor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item are the business items. Item number 1, approval, disapproval to repeal City of Las Vegas Governing Body Rules of Procedure, Resolution 02-17, adopted July 17, 2002, and amended on July 20, 2005 in its entirety. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. It's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the repeal of City of Las Vegas governing body rules of procedure and the approval of Resolution 02-17.
Have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Council?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask our legal section if this resolution was reviewed by her.
Yes, I did review the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I have a little bit of issues with this resolution. First of all, on paragraph 2, where the whereas is, resolution 217 was adopted in 2002 and amended in 2008, 8 years and 5 years. What does the 8 years and 5 years mean?
The 8 years and 5 years refers to the times that, okay, it was adopted in 2002. That was 8 years before the municipal charter was adopted in 2010. And then it was amended in 2005, which was 5 years before the municipal charter was put into place in 2010.
Okay, and I don't see the amendments of the 2005 on here, or in the attachment. Also, thanks for the clarification, Madam Councilor. And also, on whereas Resolution 217 on the next item does not align and conflicts with the provisions of the municipal charter. The charter allows, in Article 2, Section 207, governing body rules and procedures, it allows that at every election proceeding, there's an organizational meeting by mayor and council elected. And in that meeting is when this governing body or the next governing body will decide how they're going to organize and run their meetings. That is indicated on the city charter as well as on the also on the city charter as well as on the governing body rules and procedures. And then the third whereas is the code of conduct that was adopted and is adopted every 2 years. The same thing that's the body rules and procedures are adopted every 2 years. So I don't know if they've ever been adopted in the last few years or not. And then on the fourth whereas is the City of Las Vegas takes action to ratify the issue caused by Resolution 217. This is a recommendation by the auditor of the state of New Mexico. That's what this is telling me, and I don't see the recommendation of the auditor attached here. Okay, and this is to repeal the entire document. And I would accept something like amending it, but not repealing the whole document. And the simple reason is because when it was adopted back in 2002, the simple reason was that it was because we're allowed to, by statute, to make our own proceedings. That's how we're going to govern the city of Las Vegas. And every board and commission has their own rules and regulations to go by. Planning and zoning commission bylaws and rules of procedure. Over here we have the chairman and vice chairman of the planning and zoning commission. They have their own bylaws. The utility committees has their own bylaws. All committees have their own bylaws, how they're going to conduct business. The legislature, they adopt how they're going to conduct their meetings. The police department, they have a policy and procedures in place how they're going to conduct the meeting. And partially the reason that this was done back then was basically because on the charter, it goes hand in hand with the municipal charter that was adopted in 2012. Organizational meetings, the governing body at the first meeting following the municipal election shall convene for the purpose of organizing, review the mission statement, and so forth. Special meetings may be held by the call of the mayor or 3 or more council members. I know that in previous, or even in this body, the governing body, there has been an issue about calling a councilman trying to call for a meeting and it not being granted. Well, the charter allows you to do have a meeting. These 4 people here have a voice, they have a vote, and it takes only 3 of them to agree to have a meeting, whether the mayor's seat wants to be there or not. So it doesn't prohibit us from government continuing. You can't stop government. I mean, if somebody has a problem, well, they got to deal with it. The rules of the minutes. The governing body shall determine its own rules and order of business and shall cause minutes to be kept of its proceedings. That's your city charter. I swore on the Bible earlier. This is the Bible for the city of Las Vegas. This is what we follow. This and our city ordinances. And it's no conflict. As a matter of fact, our city charter requires us to have a mayor pro tem at this point. We have a mayor pro tem? I don't know. But it should be for 1-year term. Okay? The other item that was
Mr. Mayor?
a little bit of a question for me is that at the time, we were having issues with trying to get our packets before the council meetings. There was 8 councilmen at the time, and we were getting our packets the day before the meeting, because mayor and the city manager, for some reason, weren't getting the agenda out on time. So that was a problem, and that is included on this governing body's rules and procedures. Is that now mayor and council get their packets, well, everything that needs to be turned in to the clerk to be put on the agenda has to be there within 7 days. Now, the clerk has 5 days in order for us to get our information so that we can review it before the council meetings. And that's on the governing body rules and procedures. And it goes hand in hand with the charter.
Councilman Montoya, let's let other councilors give their input also.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just, more of a comment is I agree with Mr. Montoya as far as Councilor Casey's and mine also, I approve this resolution, is right now this resolution, because it's so far dated back, is that there are some items in here that aren't relevant or contradict the charter. I agree that the charter has everything as far as the organizational meeting, who can call the meetings, the mayor pro tem. So meanwhile, and of course it'll be up to us if we do, the new council, the new mayor, if they want to develop a new rules of procedure, but at this time, I think the intent is to do away with this one, just in case, we do have a new mayor that comes in and wants to use the language of the previous mayor, where there was some language in the rules of procedure that basically gave her the opportunity to deny the council the opportunity to put items on the agenda. And that's the intent of this, removing this rules of procedure for now. And if, that new governing body which comes in, if they, if our intent was to develop these, but, we weren't to develop them to where it fit, and they all aligned, the charter, the rules of procedure, and all of them aligned together. That was our intent, and we did give directions to legal, and that was, and it not as in previous legal also, and that was never done. So the intent here tonight is to repeal these rules of procedure, and as the new mayor comes in, and I guess we could determine if we want to go with some new ones that align with the charter. I think right now, for the next 2 months until the new mayor and council take place, everything's within the charter that we can do. So that's my comments.
I still don't understand. Nothing tells me here that it's going to change anything. I mean, the charter in a month from now, at that organizational meeting, you're right, Councilman. They will give direction if this wants to continue or not. I don't know why we're dealing with now. I mean, it's going to change, or it might just stay the same in a month from now.
Okay, let's.
To me, Mr. Mayor, it don't make no sense, and I don't see where on the charter or on the municipal code or anywhere where it says that the mayor has the authority to not put any agenda on the item that mayor and council want to put on there. I don't see it stated anywhere.
Councilor Casey?
Thank you. Councilman Montoya, the reason for this is because the previous mayor totally ignored the charter and used only parts of the governing rules of procedure to suit her purposes at any given time. And so if 3 of us requested a special meeting, that was never honored. It was totally ignored. None of us, I think only one counselor here made an agenda request that was actually put on the agenda. For 4 years, we tried to put items on the agenda and were rejected every single time. That is an abuse of power. That is an abuse of the governing body rules of procedure. That is why we would like to do away with it, because there are other laws that are stronger than the charter, state laws such as the municipal code, that rule over the charter if the charter does not address certain things. The previous mayor refused to follow the charter, refused to follow some portions of the ordinances, refused to follow the governing rules of procedure, and only used parts that were convenient for her. Councilor Romero and I filed suit against the mayor because of that. we wanted her to do what was right. At that time, the Attorney General looked into the situation that was occurring here, and part of the charges, 3 of the charges that she has been indicted on are about abuse of power because of the way she used the governing body rules of procedure, abuse of power, abuse of the Governmental Conduct Act. So the rules for conducting ourselves as elected officials were totally ignored by her. At that point in time, the state auditor and the state attorney general reviewed the governing body rules of procedure, and the state auditor sent us a letter, and I'm sorry that it wasn't included in the packet, and I should have brought it forth so that you could read it. He recommended strongly that this be eliminated in its entirety because it conflicts with state law, it conflicts with the governmental rules for conduct, and it was creating a problem. The reason for getting this out, and it's, doesn't mean that we'll never have another one. We can, and we did try to get this revised, but it just did not ever happen. This will end anybody else that comes into office that does not follow the rules, that is unscrupulous and is willing to break the law for their own purposes. If we repeal this and do away with it completely, that will stop it. And that's what we need to do. And that's the reason that that resolution is here this evening. We don't want it to be in place for whoever comes in next as mayor to do the same thing to whoever is sitting in the council seats, to be treated with the same disrespect that we were treated with the previous administration. That's the purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You want to have the floor?
Let's hear from, you don't, no comments? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Mayor and Council, on the city charter itself, it tells you it has power for members of the city council. The governing body shall meet regularly at least twice a month, as such time and place as it may proceed in the ordinance. Special meetings may be held on the call of the mayor or 3 more of the members of the council.
We tried
It's
that.
simple, it's simple.
But we tried that.
Okay, and then also on this governmental conduct, this is what it says. On page 6, it says, nothing in the governmental conduct acts shall be construed or preluded as a state agency or local government agency from adopting and publishing ordinances, rules, or standards that are more stringent than those required by the governmental code of conduct. So it's allowable. But when we did it, the Attorney General's office approved it, the municipal league approved it. And it was measures so that mayor and council would have more power and more authority as to giving out direction. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one last comment is, the charter, just for clarification, the charter will still be in effect. It's just the rules of procedure that we're repealing. So I don't think that with that, Mr. Mayor, I call for the question.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call? We have a motion and a second?
Yes.
So roll call?
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
No.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
No.
Mr. Mayor, I have a first by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. We have a tie.
So I get to vote. I had the experience also in regards to our previous mayor, in regards to all the issues that the 2 councilors had mentioned.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think it's up for discussion. Discussion's over. It's up for a vote.
I can make a comment, and I am going to vote. Okay?
So everybody's allowed a comment after they vote or before.
Counselor,
These are the rules.
is that right?
Once there's a call for the vote, there's no more discussion.
It's not discussion, just a comment.
Or an explanation of your vote.
I can't make an explanation of vote
I
before I vote?
believe Robert's rules say that if there's a call for the vote has to take place.
Okay. So then my vote is yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on the, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the 2019 audit, and we have Mr. Chavez and Axel staff. Good evening, Jaime. How are you?
Good evening.
Each one of you has a copy of the audit. Ready?
The mayor, members of the council, the finance department is here to request the acceptance and approval of the 2019 audit, resolution 20-06. And we have with us Mr. Jaime Rumbala, partner of Axiom, our firm.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, and everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to kind of talk about the financial statements. Is already a public document, meaning it's anyone from anywhere can download them into the auditor's website. So I just want to put that out. So it's a public records. Anyone can get it. Just gonna talk about some of the objective of our audits. I want to emphasize our main objective is to opine on your financial statements. So that's the main objective of our audit, is to opine on your financial statement. And sometimes, you know, we get pulled to kind of different direction. And audit itself, there's too much to do in there. But also, I would say that they state auditors they ask us to do more procedure. We're not required to do them, but for us though, we spent a few days trying to kind of at least check what they're saying. But ultimately though, we can say, you know what, this is outside the scope of our audit. But I'll talk a little bit into that as far as what they ask us to do. So kind of put some clarification in there. We were here for about 3 weeks. The field work, I had 3 people, so four including me, but I was in and out. But we got 3 staff that work on site. We got 1 week, 2 weeks for interim, and actually it's 4 weeks. 2 weeks for the final, and then we work another week in our office to kind of finalize. So that's just kind of some background there. And definitely, and of course, we submitted the report on time with the state auditor. Now going back to the OSA, we got 2 OSA referral letters. So the question is, what triggers it? So the trigger normally is most of the time, if someone calls, so they got a hotline, right? The state auditor has a hotline for fraud, abuse, or anything, waste, right? But we got 2 letters from them. Most of those are from the hotline, and I just want to mention that all the comments that were on those calls, and I'm just gonna be general here. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. There's issue on the procurement, the ledger's tax, the billing. There's some legal expenses in question, and some budgeting on I think on one of the Fiesta, and some other things. And I would say that we spend more time than what we need to. I actually did the work myself. I spent few days looking into those issues, kind of make sure that we consider them on our test work. For example, procurement, right? The state auditor don't require us to test a lot. There's no number of procurement files that we need to test. And I'll tell you, we tested almost everything. We tested 10 procurement files, and we spent I don't know how many days into that. And again, this compliance is already in addition to what we're doing. It's not our main goal. Our goal is to find on your financial statement. But I would say that we look into them, we spend more time than what's needed. But in the end, we didn't find any issue into them. And we got all the documentation in our file in case state auditor wants to review our working papers. And they review our working paper every year. They pick, actually they picked our audit last year. I don't know if they're going to pick it again this year. So auditors get audited, that's what I'm saying. So we're held accountable too. We get standards. And again, we look into what we need to look at. We spend more time that's needed. And in the end, we never found any issues into them. As far as did enough, of course we did more than enough. But the thing is, could we have done more? Yes, but then the problem that if we do more, then the audit at some point we would ask more money. Hey, if you guys really want us to look into this, we need more money on the table, because we already spent how many days into this, and we didn't ask the city for any contract amendment. So basically, we did them for free. So just want to put that out there. Okay, just want to go over with the financial statement, which you have a copy on. First, I would like you to, I'm just going to highlight a few things. I'm not going to go too much in detail, and then I'll open it for any question that you have. Page 1 to 4, that's our opinion on the financial statements. Again, we gave a unmodified opinion on the financial statement. It's the highest form of opinion you can get. So again, I give credit to everyone, to your team, as far as getting the clean opinion during the year. Next, I would like you to look into page 15 of the financial statement. In FY19, there's a new accounting standard that took effect. We call it asset retirement obligation. So if you have by contract or by not just by state statute or by federal laws, you're required to perform some environmental cleanup or some work, then you're required to recognize liability in your books. And as you can see on page 15, there's a $252,000 of asset retirement obligation. It's not much, but this is related to the sewer system that you have. Let's say if you decide to close that and put a new one or move it under different laws, you're required to do some work into that. And with the sewer though, it's not just state statute that you're gonna follow. You're gonna follow EPA or Environment Protection Agency rules as well, because most of the money from those projects came from them. So I'm gonna put that out. On this page too, if you look into on the last part of the page, the unrestricted net position on the governmental activities is a deficit of 14.8 million, and the reason for that is because you have the net pension liability and net OPEB liability. So again, as I guess I talked about this in the past, these are paper liabilities. The pension or the OPEB, which is the retiree health care, I call it paper liability because you're not required to pay it like next year. These are estimated these are future liabilities. So what it means for the city though is it could be a, increase on the future contribution, or if the state decide to cut benefits, that's how they can fix the system. I know last year they tried to kind of do either of those or in combination, but I know it didn't pass. I think they're gonna try that again to kind of fix the pension fund and then the healthcare fund, but again, until that's kind of moving target. But again, it's a paper liability. But I just want to emphasize, it doesn't look good here because it's a negative, it's a deficit. But if you take those two numbers out, you're actually around 6 million positive on your governmental activities.
What was that last statement you made? I'm sorry. What was that last statement you made?
Oh, well, what I said, Councilor, is if you remove the OPEB and the net pension liability, so instead of negative 14.8 million, you're probably going to be a positive 6 million for the governmental activities. Okay, next, just want to go to page 70 of the financial statement. So again, I'm just highlighting some of the big things that happened during the year or new things. So on page 70, I just want to highlight a disclosure that has been done on the financial statement. As you're aware, you have the when HUD did the audit of the homeownership program. Actually, I did a special engagement for that. We were back in 2012. 2012, but I did that procedure myself. 2012. But anyway, just to kind of get this. So the report basically saying, 634,000 of ineligible costs that you need to pay back, and also there are 17 units sold to ineligible families that you need to replace, right? At this moment, the 634,000, it's been accrued in the financial statement, and the city, the general fund, is moving money to the housing fund. Now, as far as the 17 unit, it's still, we kind of disclose it to where it's not accrued because we don't know yet how much it's gonna cost, but I'm hoping next year we get some clarity to that, and of course we would reach out to HUD at that point. But I know in the last year we kind of reached out, but the consensus was HUD doesn't want to put a number. You guys need to determine that number. So that's something that definitely a big liability for next year.
And Jaime, if I may, just most recently, HUD did come in and assess the city $3,800,000 for the units, and so we'll have to give you that paperwork so that we can disclose it on the notes to financials.
Is the local office came over here? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They did.
Deployed and okay.
Yes.
All right. And we will
so we'll get that paperwork.
All right. So we'll get that part of next year audit, and also we'll be in touch with HUD office as well. Kind of get more clarity to that matter.
Thank you.
But I just want to highlight that that's something that can have a big impact on the financial statement. Okay. If you go to page 115.
Which page?
115. So page 115 and 116 is what we call our yellow book opinion. Basically what goes here is so we look into your internal controls, cash receipt, disbursement, billing, payroll, and other processes. And in addition, as I said, state auditor requires us to look into some compliance requirement. And before I presented, I know you were talking about the city charter and everything, right? We don't normally look, we only look into that as far as if you're following things, but as far as is this your charter consistent with the state laws, we don't normally look into that. And it's not a focus of when we do our audit. But some of the focus, for example, for compliance is, you know, procurement, we look into that, whether you're following procurement laws. Of course, governmental conduct, we look into that. Conflict of interest, we look into that. P cards, budgeting, you know, collateralization of your public money, and all those things, we look into those. But it's kind of limited on those areas. Basically, we don't have the time to kind of look on all like applicable. But if something does cross, you know, based on what we do, or based on our communication with city staff, then normally we would look on things. Normally we would dig deeper if something is not adding up or there are some red flags. That's kind of how we do it with audit. Okay, next page 117 and 118. This is our single audit opinion. Again, we gave an unmodified opinion on the single audit. So what a single audit is, if you spend over 750,000 in federal money, and which the city spent actually is 3.2 million, then you're required to have a single audit. So what a single audit is, we would pick a major program, right? And we would look into, like, did you follow the, you know, the federal rules, the, you know, the state laws, for example? Did you spend that money on the right bucket? Did you submit the proper reporting? And then again, it comes with procurement too. So did you follow the procurement procedure? Like normally you're required to follow the federal procurement rules, but the New Mexico procurement rules are actually more stringent with the federal rules. So normally we would go with the state rules. So that is that. And if you go to page 121. So page 121, it kind of give you a good snapshot of what happened during the year. Like what's our auditor's report, which is unmodified, whether we have any material weakness or significant deficiencies on the internal control or any federal awards finding. And we're pleased to communicate there were no, as you can see, there's no findings on the financial statement. However, we have what we call other matters. It's more of a recommendations, so it's not really a findings, but we're required by the state auditor to report it. And before I would go to that recommendation, I just want to talk about the layers of you know, the findings or recommendations. So material weakness is the worst. You know, you don't want to have that. Like if federal agency, you have a material weakness, they're gonna be all over you, and you don't have that. The next one would be significant deficiency, and you don't have that too. And the third layer, which is, you know, we call other matters, and you have that, but that's more of normally like just recommendation, or sometimes they're in the report because the state auditor requires us to include them on the report. So if you go to page, let me go back. So the single audit that we did was CFD number 66.468, which is the capitalization grant for drinking water state revolving fund. So this is a loan program from the state. However, it's a pass-through from the I think it's EPA, I think Environmental Protection Agency. It's I think 90% federal funded and 10% from the state. Okay, next page 122 to 123. These are, as I said, it's a recommendation. You can see on the title of the recommendation, we call it other matters. So it just, you know, others. It's really, it's minor, but we would at least like to see the city kind of look into this. I'll just go over quick. There's lack of vulnerability assessment or penetration tests on network. We haven't seen that. I mean, the city hasn't done that, as I'm aware of. I don't know how long, probably from day one. But basically what that is someone, third party come here and identify your vulnerabilities, right? And make some recommendation, hey, this is what you need to do to strengthen your controls, your IT controls. That's the first one. Definitely it's cost some money, but it's getting cheaper and cheaper. There's more complications out there. So something that, but I'll be happy to discuss this. But your IT is very familiar with this process. The next one is IT policies and procedure are still in development. So we would like to have that formalized. With IT policies and procedures, the reason we want it documented is it's kind of provide you with consistency in how you do things, and also if someone decides to leave, that knowledge is there. Like if someone lives there and you don't know how do they store the password, are they hiding it in I don't know, right? Or are they writing it? So that kind of address all those things. It kind of keep the procedures intact if someone leaves. That's more of kind of continuity. The IT disaster recovery plan is still in draft form. Would like to get that, see that finalized. So what that is what happens. It's not just on the financial side though. We would like to see something too on, because like for example, the police department would have their server too, right? That you have system that you want to be in place for 24/7. And we never look into that, but that's kind of IT look, inventory, everything. What are the critical application within the city that needs to be, that we at least we have, normally what we recommend is what we call redundant server. So, redundancy, right? If something happened here, you can switch on the other system. Last is fire suppression system. There's no fire suppression system in place. Again, I mean, that's gonna cost money. I don't know if it's worth it for you guys to put one, but I'm just saying there's a risk if something happening there. You don't have any protection in your server room at this moment. Those are pretty much what I have, and I'll be happy to answer any question that you have. Audit.
Councilor Romero?
I just have one question. I brought this up, I know last year when you gave us our last year's report is, again this year, and I've done it in my past, in my previous position, is a disclosure statement. I think as elected officials, I think I brought that up to you and you said you would, but we never
Yeah,
did that.
we talked to the mayor. I think what we decided to do is talk to the mayor.
Okay, and for the record, wasn't been Councilor Howell, right?
Yeah.
No, it was done.
Yeah, I know, but just for the record, it wasn't Councilor Howell.
So yeah, as part of all these ongoing issues in the past, we again we talked to the former mayor. We kind of get her side, and again, I talked to councilor back then as far as all the issues.
So then that goes back to my next question. Is I remember, if I remember correctly, and maybe if I'm wrong, but I requested that we do like the entrance interview with the whole council, and I think we had agreed at that time, and we didn't, and I didn't want to call back, but to me that that disclosure statement, and I'm also wondering, are those disclosure statements also given to employees? And the reason why I bring that is, let's say an employee has a relative with a contractor or a vendor, how would they know that there's not a conflict?
So what we look at is, so yeah, we don't have like the procedure is not normally, we don't normally kind of do that, but we can do something like that, like maybe selective. We'll start with the council. Like I know what you're talking about. For example, I was a partner for PED. It was the PED who's requiring everyone though, not the auditors. So you have that conflict of interest form. But that's something that we would be happy to look into.
And I think that's important, you know, as elected officials, that disclosure
Yeah.
statement is very important. I disagree that you were given direction from one individual when, I mean, I could have had a conflict and never been exposed, but then things come out and it does, and that's wrong. I think we need to be able to disclose
One
that.
thing that we do is we talk to different employees within the city, and we ask conflict of interest one that we ask, and any concern or any fraud, or did someone ask you to do something that is not, that you're not comfortable with. So we do that on, we select from, because we wouldn't have like time, if we send everything to like employees, just reviewing all the responses is gonna take a lot of time. And to us though, even someone, I mean, the form itself though, if you're hiding something though, even the form, and I learned it from my auditing experience. I've been in audit for 20 years. The form itself is a good form to have, but most of the time people wouldn't. Because what we did in the past is we went back to the people that kind of disclose things, and they, I mean, I did fraud investigation in the past, and we went back to the form and they never disclosed it. So it's a good thing to have, but what I'm saying is most of the time it doesn't deter any people from wrongdoing. And it's the same thing too. When we ask people, are you aware of fraud or anything like that? Even they're aware, they're not gonna tell us. But when we present them with a document, we don't say, hey, you committed a fraud. All we do is, hey, can you tell us what's going on this invoice, for example, this and that. Then that's the time they would try to talk. This is my experience though.
And I know, we are here today and we did do that, but just, for future.
But now, if the council wants to meet for an entrance meeting though, next time, we want to make sure that we don't violate, any state laws.
And I think we had discussed about.
On the open
publishing a
meeting or anything like that.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
And then going back into the report, the 600,000 that was paid to HUD, or that was a liability, where's that specifically on the?
That was reported back in for how many years? So it's going down. It's not. It wasn't paid to HUD. It was paid to the housing fund.
Yeah.
That's on page 70, Council.
The liability should be on the general fund.
The note is on page 70.
So,
Page 70.
But on page 45, wouldn't it say in here on page?
so Councilor, you want to see where the liability is recorded?
Yes.
So if you go to, it's on the general fund right now. If you go to page 18, there's a liability there. That's not everything, but a portion of that. Page 18. There's a liability in the general fund due from other funds. Now, if you go to the housing fund in page 26, you can see our receivable, no, not 26, 24, you can see our receivable there. $438,000 on as a receivable. I don't know if that's all that, because we didn't break it out. We're not required to break it out, but all I'm saying is the number is there. And it's lower than 600,000 because the liability has been set up a few years ago, maybe two years at least, and it's being paid down every.
I'm done now.
Okay. Council Casey?
Thank you. You mentioned that the state auditor had requested that you look into certain things. What were those things?
Yes, Councilor. So we look, the first issue that they brought up was, again, it comes back with the procurement. I guess everyone is aware of that issue. So that's why what we did is, we look on all the procurements you have. I think there were 10 procurement that we reviewed in FY19. That's the first one. And then there's an issue on the ledger's tax. I think that you're not spending the money based on the ordinance. So we didn't, again, there's hundreds, I don't know how many invoices into that fund, but I can say we probably picked 10 largest transaction, and we double check that those are in line with, like, for example, what are you paying for, right? And so we look into the ordinance. Is this accept, or is this allowable per your ordinance? And we never had issue with those. There are issues, I guess, on the billing that we look at. There's a complaint on, I think, on the billing, but we tested the billing during the year. We tested, I think, 25 transactions, and these are random selections, so we didn't just pick anyone, or so we did a random 25 transactions out of how many thousands of transactions. So that's make sure that there's no overbilling. It's what bill is based on the reading, and then the rates are good and all those things. So we look into that. And we also look into, I know there's a question about the legal expenses for the former mayor. We look into that as well, whether are they should be, or I guess the question is, should they be personal rather than, so, and this is something too that again, I'm not a lawyer, right? But we know we know a lot of state, rules and regulations. We're very familiar with them. But ultimately, though, and I checked with the state auditor too, and what do you think, in this and that. But ultimately, the conclusion there is the claim or lawsuit against the former mayor is pretty much related to her function as a mayor, not on a personal level. So that's why we said, yeah, it's proper that the city would need to pay for it. Now, if you're filing an issue that's not related to the city, then we would say, yeah, why would the city pay for that? But if she's acting as a mayor of the city, then, and I had some conversation with the state auditor into that. But ultimately, though, we said, there's no issue into those.
So those were the ones that you looked into
Yes, Council.
at the direction of the state auditor?
Yes, and we spent a couple of days looking into those.
Okay. The other question I had was on page 115, your letter to the state auditor about internal controls. And pretty much your letter says you're not going to do anything about looking into internal controls. And so can you tell me more specifically than what is there? Just, I don't know, I read it several times and
So if you look into page...
it's disappointing to me. It's on page 115.
So Councilor, if you look into page 116, normally we would, if we have findings, and I said there's no finding, but there's a recommendation. And the first paragraph on the last part referred 2019-001, which is the IT recommendation. So that's the only thing that we reported in our report.
Where are you looking?
Page 116.
Which paragraph?
First paragraph, last part of the first paragraph.
Well, yeah, when you say you don't express an opinion because it wasn't an objective of your audit.
So, yes, so we don't opine on the internal controls. because we only look into your internal controls, so we can opine on your financial statements. Government and non-public companies, we don't opine on internal control. We only opine on internal control if we're doing an audit of public companies. So I want to differentiate that because it was required by the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. But for cities or government entities, there's no requirement for us to audit the internal controls. And if we audit it, it's gonna be, again, it's gonna involve a lot of money. Just auditing your internal control probably gonna cost the city like 50,000 at least.
Thank you, I have another question.
Councilor Montoya?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that last question, so can mayor and council give direction to hire an independent auditor to do the internal audit?
Well, you gotta follow the procurement rules. Whatever is your rule, right? You have a committee. To answer your question, probably not, because if you appoint a committee, though, right? So that's something that you don't really want to be associated, right? Especially if you have rules and you have a procurement policies that you follow, though. For example, you select a committee into that. Now, can you influence them? Well, for sure you can, right? But if you just want to avoid that, there's documentation there. But we look into those things. But definitely, those are something that needs to be done in accordance with the procurement code.
Another question I had, like on page 51 to 53, I know there's long-term contracts that we have, debits. Is that in conjunction with like other communities our size? Or is that like up to like our limits on some of these loans that are done through DFA, and some of them are up to the year 2036, for instance?
So
is that like in accordance to like other cities in their capacity?
Yes, Councilor. Normally, there's a kind of procedure there that kind of limit under the New Mexico Constitution. There's kind of limit on how much you can borrow. It's normally based on the assessed value of your property tax, like property within the city limit. But as far as all these liabilities, to answer your question, yes.
And according to page 5, I guess the population of Las Vegas decreased by 4.8 between 2010 and 2015, from 14,055 people to 13,386 people. That's a difference of 669 people that have left Las Vegas.
I'll let Anne-Marie answer
Yes,
that.
those are the statistics that were taken from the census.
Okay.
And so we'll update this as soon as we get a new census, then we'll be updating our numbers once again.
And again, I bring that up because it's important that in this census, that everybody gets counted, because that's where we get more representation.
Right.
Plus, that's where we get more federal and state dollars to our communities. And then, and this finding on 122. For instance, who would be the third party that we would get to come and ensure those policies and procedures, or that disaster recovery plan would be created, or that our files and everything in there, the computer systems and all that is up to par and it's secured?
So as far as the recommendations, Councilor, item A and D, those are the things that definitely you need to spend money on, right? The B and C, that's something that your staff, IT staff, can do. And of course, with the help of the council to review those policies, make sure that that's in line with your expectation. For example, the disaster recovery, right? Like if you're down and they say, oh, we're going to be down for 1 week. Are you okay with that? That's the question, right? So that's something that you need to get out of that document, is have understanding of what's going to happen if this thing, you have different kind of scenario. If you got flooded or building got burned down, what are the expectations? So that's why it's very important that the council is involved into that.
So at this point, does the Las Vegas Police Department, do they have a backup system? Or what's theirs up there versus ours here?
So Councilor, we focus on the financial system. We didn't look into the police
Operations.
Yeah, those are operational. We only look into the financial system.
If I may, Councilor, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Montoya, what we have right now is I believe it's every 2 hours, we are backed up, and our system is a citywide system, including the police department, housing, fire department, as well as any other departments. And so our system backs up every 2 hours, and this was a discussion we had, because other agencies, and we're just as vulnerable as the next ones. If we had some kind of a system breach, it would take us approximately 2 hours to get back up and running, because we have a very good backup system at this point.
Okay. Now, you talk about, on letter D, you talk about considering installing a fire suppression system. Now, is that just for that room or for the entire building?
I think both. Both is what we. Again, we did not visit the police department server room, but that's just from our understanding from the IT staff.
So this whole city hall needs a fire suppression system installed?
Yes, Councilor. And again, it's up to, is depending how much it's going to cost. Of course, the city would decide, is this worth our money? So that's something that the city needs to decide. And we're just putting it out there. You can say, oh, it's a risk that we're willing to assume. But definitely, back in, it's the price is getting, it's getting cheaper. It used to be like the price now compared to last year by like half by now. But again, it's a small space. I don't know if it's worth it to put one. But what I'm saying is, of course, there are risks there without having a fire suppression system.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Yunus.
Thank you, Mayor. On these findings, is there a way, can we direct this to our city manager that we could work on this, on these findings and see what we can do with it?
Absolutely, Councilor. As a matter of fact, we've been working on the development of our policies and procedures, because that's critical. The fire suppression system, we've been looking to see how we can at least do that one IT room where we have our bigger equipment, our bigger servers. We just went through a conversion. We brought in 4 brand new servers, and so we have been installing and doing some of that, but the policies and procedures for us are one of the most important ones. So we can, and we do have a draft, and we'd like to bring it to Mayor and Council for further review. Take it back to our department heads and just see how much more we need to add to those procedures before we finalize them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. I think that these recommendations or other matters can be a good discussion item in our work session. I think that way we can have the IT in front of us, IT group, to give us explanations and their opinions on what we need to do. Taking the other matters, recommendations from the auditor. I think that would be a good one.
Okay.
In point of clarification, so this audit is an unmodified audit,
Yes.
which is one of the highest rating?
Yes, Mayor, definitely. So it definitely, the city has definitely one of the cleanest audit that we had, for sure.
I see. Good. And there was no findings except for the other matters that you had?
Yes, Mayor, we tried our best. But again, that's why I'm giving credit to your staff. They did a good job.
Well, thank you, sir. That's really good. I'm glad we
Thank
did
you.
that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Go ahead.
One question going back to the procurement. Can you kind of detail us how you select the random sampling of the procurement, those files? I know you said you only did 10, but
So
can you kind
I
of
think
detail me as to
what we did, Councilor, we tested all we didn't do a random because of all the issues that were brought to us. We tested, I think, everything. There were 10 procurement files that we reviewed.
Okay, you didn't random, I mean, you didn't everything, but you said 10 random, 10 files.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What's the?
So what happened is we asked for the city a listing, what are the procurement that you did during the year, right? So that's what we did, and there were 10 of them, and we didn't stop there. We looked on all your disbursement.
So how did you select those 10?
That's pretty much everything on your list.
What we do is we do a master list for them, an accounts payable master listing. That's given to them, and that's a total summary of every transaction that occurs within the city of Las Vegas. And that's given to them, and then they
So-
take it over.
When we say procurement, though, state laws, anything above 60,000, those are the ones. Below that, we're not required to look into them.
Yeah.
So that means you got 10 that went into procurement. Now, your question is,
Okay.
did we rely into the list from the city? We did not. So how did we ensure the completeness? Is we have all your disbursement during the year, right? Everything that you paid to all the vendors. So we created a pivot table. I'm familiar with it. So we kind of total of all vendors during the year, and then anything in there like the 60 and above, we look into it, and then we ask why there's no procurement into this, and then we say, oh, that's utilities. We're not recorded the procurement, or oh, we did procurement to that last year. So we got that on our file. But
So-
we did that.
So you go based off of our current procurement policies?
Yes. And your procurement policies haven't changed in a while.
Okay, and I know this is probably a question, I don't know if you could answer this, because we, like a counselor, and how, Ilabria and I did a procurement training. How are our policies currently, in your opinion?
I mean, the
Or that
policies are, so when we kind of look into it, though, right, your policies is definitely more stringent than than the state law. Because technically, some of the cities don't even have procurement policies. If you don't have procurement policies, then all you have to do is follow the procurement code under the state law, right? But as far as the procurement, I think they're, for us, they're enough and appropriate. It's just a matter of, are you following them? That's kind of the most important thing is
And
whether
the internal control procedures?
Yeah.
Same thing?
Like, for example, you say, so when we review a procurement file, right, we look into like the sign off and all those things, the scoring, do you follow those procedures? So we look into those. So there are like, on the procurement alone, we probably test 10 attributes on each file. And then we look into the timing, like someone receive it, for example, did you receive the file, in time with the deadline of the procurement? Because you might have received it after the deadline, and because you know someone and you just, okay, yeah, that's fine. So we look into those.
So in those files that you did, all documentation, we talked a lot about documentation, all that was in there?
So we look into all the documentations. We review the contract. We look into the RFP and everything, the scoring, pretty much everything related to the procurement. We obtain them. It probably takes us a few days just on the procurement testing alone.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not,
Mr. Mayor, I move acceptance and approval of the fiscal year 2019 audit, resolution 20-06.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
You got a motion and a second? Roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Gabriel.
Thank you, Dominic. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item number 3, approval, disapproval of resolution 20-07, assuring the availability of available matching funds, amount being $300,000 with a city match of $75,000, which is 25% of total cost of the phase of this project. And we have Danny Gutierrez.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm here seeking assurability of available funds for the MAP, which is the Mountain View project of $75,000 out of the $300,000 for this project. And for any questions?
Questions, councilors? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of resolution 2007, assuring matching funds in the amount of $75,000, which is 25% of the total cost for the project on Mountain View Drive.
Thank you. Need a second? Got a motion and a second? Roll call?
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution 20-08, assuring the availability of funds for Legion Drive road improvements administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation in the amount of $2,780,345, that being 95%, City of Las Vegas share being 5%, or $139,017.25.
Mr. Mayor, council, I'm here to assure, for the assurance of availability of funds for the Legion Drive project, which is a road that we all know is in the reconstruction. And in the Mexico Department of Transportation, support for my local governing body on this project.
Councilor Montoya?
Thank you for coming before us. I attended last week also the Utilities Committee meeting, and I'm really happy to see all the input that's being put on there. And this is a recommendation also from, as well as the last item from the committee itself. I'd like to recognize also that we have Walter Adams, one of our own from Las Vegas, that is been appointed as chairman of the New Mexico Department of Transportation Commission. And, you know, that helps Las Vegas out. They have a lot to do with these kinds of requests that come in. And I think we have another one for Old Town somewhere coming up too. But these are important. Anytime that we get any funding that we can just match 25%, that's a big plus, because money's hard to come by to begin with. But thank you to staff for bringing us these items, and really badly needed items, to tell you the truth. So that street is falling apart, and it's about time we do something about it. And these are avenues that are for us in Santa Fe. And I know that I retired from the DOT, 25 years of service, and they are more than willing to come and help us out with whatever MOUs that we're interested in doing with them. So I encourage staff and department heads to move towards that direction, because that's the incentive of, that's what the governor wants, is for departments, state departments to assist the rural areas, the rural communities. So I thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you.
Just a comment and a brief question. This is the project that was removed from the ICIP plan so that we can apply for the DOT funds?
This one's actually on the ICIP. This one was removed from the capital outlay.
From the capital outlay request.
We
Okay,
moved it to the corporate project with the
Right.
LGTPF.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Romero?
I just had one question. Speaking with Councilor Montoya, at one time, is it Mountain View and the Legion, there was supposed to be a weight limit on those? Is that gonna be in?
There is a weight limit on those roads, but right now they're not, the bigger trucks aren't following that. I don't think there's any signage there, but there is a weight limit on there. And right now with the Mountain View, I think we're gonna go ahead and address the semis turning there into the Pinos, which I think they're gonna go ahead and rebuild the whole base, add a particular asphalt on that. And I'm hoping
And going
to
going back to the planning, we're not going to plan for those trucks to be going through there? I don't think that's something that...
But I was hoping to look as far as when we do it and try to accommodate in case one does go through there. Because if they do, we don't want to tear up the road. We want to make sure that we have the bottom base and as far as the asphalt to go ahead and carry the weight in case one does slip by. I mean, it's hard to stop the trucks from going through there now.
And Chief, is there a way that, I mean, maybe more enforcement? I mean, I know that it's hard to get enforcement there, but I don't know if there's signage or...
Yes, sir. Once the signs are posted, absolutely.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Councilman Romero, just to inform, I was the one that made the motion for that funding and created the funding, half of the funding for Legion Drive when the hospital was going to be coming into Las Vegas. Because I had, my stand was, if we don't have a road to the hospital, what for do we need a hospital? So the matching plans came from the DOT and again, part of them from the city. And then the other half came from the hospital itself. Now, that was one thing that I encouraged, and we passed it as an ordinance, that there be a 20-ton limit there, and it be enforced by our city police department. Now, if you Google it, if you're going to Mora coming down I-25, you Google it, it's going to throw you through Legion Drive, shortcut.
It's a shortcut.
Versus going through Grand and going through Mills and going up 518. Now, those roads from the DOT are made to withstand that kind of traffic because of the base course, the compacting, and so forth. These streets aren't, our local streets aren't. So that needs to be enforced. There is one sign that's halfway like this for the last 3 years over by where the old subway used to be at, facing east on Legion. The one here, they knocked it down, never replaced it. But that's something that needs to be put back in the books. And it's still in the books in the ordinance. It just needs to be enforced. Now, whether our police officers are trained or certified to give a ticket to these truckers that are passing through there, I don't know. But on this other note, is there any sidewalk rehab or lighting on this project?
As far as the lighting, we didn't add any LED lights or anything on this road. But what I did is we actually applied for another capital outlay request.
Yes.
Is to get LED lighting throughout the city.
Yes.
And it's a grant that I guess one of the senators is going to do. So hopefully if everything goes through, we might get the city and our staff will actually install those lightings as well. No? So hopefully.
Thank you. The only thing I ask is when this project starts, that there's a lot of PR to the community in the neighborhood because of the schools, the parks, and
Yeah,
everybody because that's a highly high-traveled road.
That's
and it's busy during the day. So
as the plaza
just
as well,
inform-
we'll be moving
inform the
forward
public
that as
ahead
well.
of time what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to let Ms. Gaigas know that we really appreciate Mr. Goulet. He went with me to the legislators and spoke with Senator Campos and Secretary of Transportation Mike Sandoval. And he was very articulate in our needs for the community and all the roads, specifically Legion Drive and the other roads. So I want to thank you, Mr. Goulet. Appreciate it. You're an asset to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion? Yes. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 20-08, assuring availability for funding for Legion Drive Road improvements administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation in the amount of $2,780,345, shared cost being 95% of the $2,641 $461,327.75. City of Las Vegas share being 5% or $139,000.
Second. There's a motion, and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call, please.
Counselor Katie?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Goulet.
Thank you, Dan.
Appreciate it.
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, is councilors' reports.
We'll start, Councilor Ulibarri.
Mr. Mayor, going back to potholes, Mr. Valde, I know that you've been working on the potholes and you've been using pressure fines or something, you know, and I know you did some potholes for the past 2 weeks, and I've been driving through some of those roads, and they've been, as soon as you put them in, they once you start traffic going through, and they start coming back out. I think
we've been using millions. It's recycled asphalt, and we use QPM. It's quick patch material. When the weather's a little bit hotter, we're planning on doing hot mix, cutting them out, tacking them, doing them the right way. You know? This is just like temporary right now because of the weather.
The only thing that I'm looking at is, you know, the time that you guys are spending there, and I'm looking at, we go and patch up on how many potholes, and, you know, within 3 days they're gone. So to me, it's kind of a waste of time, or, you know, I maybe you could find a better solution to do it, because, you know, it's costing city money and employees and time, you know. Maybe you could find something else we could work with, or maybe buying the asphalt that we talked about it in the previous meeting.
Cold surface and hot mix won't.
I understand that. I do understand that.
So what we're doing is just temporary till the weather gets better.
Yeah, but you're talking about 3-4 months. You know, our citizens are complaining about it. That, you know, we get calls. I think the city manager gets calls, and you get calls too. You know, almost every day. You know, so I'm trying to figure out a solution to maybe work with us or work with the city manager to see how we could do it a different way. You know.
I'm willing to try whatever you have in mind.
Maybe. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Montoya.
I'll give you a suggestion. The DOT has oil. You have millions. Get your blade, your operator, you mix it, and you use that kind of material instead of loose material for the meantime. Another solution is check with Santa Fe. There's a state contract in place. You can piggyback off that contract, get it the same price as the state, and you can make an MOU, have the state go pick it up if you don't have the dump trucks, and you'll have hot material to work with. You know what? On Mills Avenue, my wife was coming down the road, she hit a bump, and not on Mills, on Legion. She hit a bump. It blew the tire on the sidewalk. It hit the rim. It was so bad that it busted the tire. You know, I called Big O. They didn't have a tire till next Wednesday. This was on a Friday. I called the tire shop in Old Town. They were closed. I called the tire shop here on Grand. They were closed. I couldn't find a tire. I had to put my little tube tire, go all the way to Santa Fe, call them ahead of time, make sure they had a tire, and put that tire. I mean, that would be a tort claim, and I don't know how many people probably wish they'd do a tort claim, because it's expensive. That's a $200 tire. You know, it's important. I concur with Mr. Councilman Ulibarri. It is an issue and a big issue, and they bring it up to my attention everywhere I go in town. Do something about the potholes, Mike. And I'm telling you, it's serious. And we're going to take this action serious. So I recommend you work on something. Either work with DOT, get materials. QPR, it's expensive. It comes in a bag, plastic, and it's expensive. I don't know if you have the budget or not, but it's expensive.
We've been buying that stuff, no. But it goes quick, no.
Of course, and it's expensive.
And then,
But again, that material, you can make an MOU, and you can call the DOT. They go for loads of it, semi-loads of it, dump truck loads of it in Albuquerque. You can pay for it, city can pay for it, make an MOU, an agreement with them, they can bring it for you. You don't have to go to Albuquerque for it. You know, there's solutions. But we can't afford to just be breaking tires and axles and alignments. My truck goes sideways already by itself. I'm serious. So it's an issue that needs to be addressed. And Madam Manager, I'm pleading with you guys, you know, get this fixed, because putting loose gravel, loose dirt, or millings, dry millings, is not gonna work. It's like Councilman says, the next day it's out again. And if it snows or it rains, it's the same thing. So, I mean, that's the number one priority the citizens have, is potholes. They're tired of potholes. So, I'll leave it at that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, what I would suggest is, Chris, if you could meet with Councilor Montoya and maybe with Anne Marie to have that discussion and put a plan on it, okay? And then give contact information on either the DOT or the Santa Fe area, okay? And figure out what the cost will be, et cetera, so we can get some of the things done. I think Mr. Chris is doing his best with the materials that we have, okay? His staff is out there working very hard and filling numerous, thousands of potholes. And we are well aware of what our city needs. It's difficult that when we don't have the resources or the equipment to do the job that we really need to get done. So I think that once we get the paving machine that we hopefully will get funded, we can start doing a lot more better job at fixing the potholes. And when you spoke about Councilor Montoya, when you spoke about Mr. Walter Adams, he and I met with Mr. James Gallegos, and he also mentioned that the DOT will be more than happy to work with us. And they have a yard full of materials that we could use. So I think we need to connect with Mr. Gallegos, with Miss Gallegos, connect with Mr. Gallegos. Not your husband, but James Gallegos.
We don't connect, Never mind.
But this community is full of collaborative men and women in this town that will want to help us get this job done. So, but I just want everyone to understand that Mr. Chris here, Christie, is doing his best, and he's filling all the potholes he can with the materials that we have. And your staff is working hard. So thank you. Councilor Casey?
Thank you. I don't have anything for you, Chris. I have spoken to I don't know how many people in Las Vegas campaigning, and I just want to let people know that we have really good staff and wonderful employees here in Las Vegas. And we've heard a lot of negative things about different departments. And one person even said during a public forum that our department heads all sit around in their offices and don't do anything all day. And that's not true. And I said, absolutely not. I don't know of any department head that sits around and does nothing. Everybody pitches in, everybody works hard. And we have even the female department head there, Maria Gilberi. I've seen her out in the mud and the cold, making sure that things are done. Sonia works on, broken machinery at the rec center. Wanda at the senior center, Brooks, everybody pitches in to do what needs to be done to provide services to the people of Las Vegas. Zach does a great job at the library. He helps people with computer stuff, getting online, with a new language program that he has. He has great success there. We have wonderful, wonderful employees working in our city, and we need to support them. And we need to do the best we can to not only support them, but to defend them when they're attacked by citizens and other people that don't really understand the workings of the city. And so I'm hoping that, we can look at more positive outlooks in the future. And I know that there was a gentleman that took it upon himself to try to fill the potholes. And that person actually was breaking the law because that person does not have a contractor's license, and so it's a violation of the Construction Industries Division ordinances and state laws. And it was also a violation of city ordinance because no private citizen is supposed to work on city property, especially roadways, without having a contract with the city. So although he may have been well-meaning, it was really a detriment to the city because it put the city in legal liability, and it created more work for our street employees who had to clean up some of the work that that gentleman did. I want to thank the street department for the stop signs, the new stop signs that you have installed. I was very happy to see 3 of the stop signs that I had told you about have been replaced, and you can actually see the stop sign, and they're in critical areas by schools, and I appreciate that very much. And so I just want to say thank you to our employees because they do give 150%. And as it was mentioned earlier, a lot of our employees do extra work, work that's not even in their job description most times, just so that they can cover the gaps that we have more employees to fill those at this time. So we need to focus on fixing those issues, get those positions filled with qualified people, and we need to make sure that we support the staff that we already have on hand. We have people that work hard. Police department works hard, fire department works hard, everybody works hard, and so we just need to build up what we have and continue to improve. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Casey. Councilor Romero?
I was going to add to the potholes, but I think they've covered it for me. I do want to, Christy, thank you again. I know there was one way sign that you put up. Within the week, they were graffitied, and you took care of that pretty quick. I was waiting to see how long it stays, but you addressed it fast. Thank you. Again, thank your staff. Like Councilor Casey said, that I know you guys are limited and stretched thin, but thank you for continuing to work hard and doing your best, and let your staff know that we are appreciative, but we do get those calls and concerns that, hey, you're not doing enough. And I think, the majority, I think we all concur that, we need to staff your department properly to address those potholes and those things. My next question was to Chief Bibb. Another big thing that's been happening is the code enforcement and the animal control. I think you had hired 2 code enforcement or animal control. Where are we with that?
There's one officer who's in in-service training right now. I believe he has 1 week left in this training. We had 2 others that had initially accepted the position and just didn't show. So we're back to recruiting.
Okay, so how are we handling animal control at this time?
The patrol officers are handling the initial response, and if they can handle enforcement action, they do. If it involves picking up an animal, then they'll call Christie or someone from his department.
And
to
I don't
take
know, I don't know if
the
this
animal.
has been done, but there was word that the county was willing to help us out with some of those, or is that?
I did speak to Sheriff Lopez on that, and he didn't want to give a blanket commitment, but he did pledge support on a case-by-case basis.
And then if I could just give you this address, 421 Blanchard, a code enforcement issue, if you could, and I'll share some pictures with you on that.
Okay.
Address that. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I know that Mr. Poole, when he did his report from AWC, talked about animal abuse. Well, I am a very avid animal lover myself, and what I want to do is I want to give or initiate a meeting, a public meeting, and I want to invite the municipal court judge. I want to invite the AWC group, the New Mexico Dog Group, and also the Sheriff Department to come in and discuss a resolution for our animal abuse issue that we have in our community. I think that if we involve everybody to come up with a solution, I think that will be good, and the police department will also be invited. And if we invite all the councilors, then we'll have to, we'll actually do a public meeting announcement also. Because I think we're all passionate about our community, and if it hurts our community by having these animals abused, and like Mr. Poole said, that when there's abuse of animals, there's also abuse of others, like little children and female and male and elderly people. So we are very concerned about that, and we're going to start that initial meeting. I'm going to try to get it done by mid-March. So be on the lookout for that. I think we need input from the community. We need input from the municipal court judge, because where's the gap or the stopgap of getting things done? Is it because we don't allow the abusers to get penalized, or what? We don't know that. So we want input on that. So that's my effort. On another subject, if you look at all of us here, we are passionate about Las Vegas. This governing body is going to start giving direction to the city manager for her to do the things that we need to get done in this community. Okay? And we're going to give the go-ahead for all the departments to go ahead and do their jobs, because sometimes they feel that they're restricted in terms of not having enough resources, not having enough staff. We need to really take a look at our staffing issue and really get, if it's budgeted, then let's get them hired. And if we're having trouble getting staff in because they can't pass the drug and alcohol test, then we've got a problem in this community. There's another issue we have to deal with. And also, I heard a comment that actually the state auditor and their special audit recommended that we go out on a outsource human resources. I think that was mentioned also in one of the comments from here. And to help us recruit and really standardize our human resources department. So those are the things that we are going to be having discussions with, and hopefully make some good decisions on that, in that regard. So I want to thank everybody for coming to, we really can't take audience information right now.
Is it permitted for me to make an observation about the bicycle? I came down on
Go ahead.
Mountain View Drive by Little Saigon on my bicycle. The dog came storming down the hill jumped off my bike and I fell on the ground with my face bleeding out. That's it.
Right. Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we're going to have this meeting, to get a resolution on this issue. Okay?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman.
Christie, thank you for everything you do for me and for the city. I'm always after you, I'll tell you something, and don't take an offense on it. I'm just trying to help you and trying to help the city. Thank you very much.
All right, any need for executive session?
I don't have anything, sorry.
I move we adjourn.
So second?
There's a motion and second, roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.